Hey everyone, welcome back to Locked In, where we give you your college football intel. We're going to keep it in the SEC for this video, and we're going to look at a new quarterback. Maybe not quite so new, but he's going to be new as a starter for the full season. That's Garrett Nussmeier, LSU. Now, we got a taste of Nussmeier in the ReliaQuest Bowl when LSU took on Wisconsin and beat them earlier this year, and he had quite a game, honestly. If just looking at stats, most of his stats for the year he compiled in this game. The total pass yards for the year 591, 4 touchdowns and 1 interception. Of those, he got 395 yards in this game against Wisconsin. He was 31 of 45 for right at his 69% completion percentage, which is pretty sporty for your first start. 8.8 average, per pass, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, and got to point out that his 1 interception came, he, like a lot of other people, fell victim to Ricardo Hallman. He kind of put one in a tight spot, and Hallman, he did what he does, and he picked that ball off. But outside of that one pick, I think you got to be pretty pleased with what Nussmeier did. And if you're a LSU Tigers fan, I think you had to like what you saw, and you got to be pretty hopeful for the upcoming season. So let's go ahead and dig into it.
Yeah, you'll see he likes to throw over the middle a lot, and that's what he'll start off doing here, just hitting an absolute dart over the middle, in between three defenders. His tight end, he loves to target his tight end. Safe, reliable option, usually open, settles down in between this safety over top and this linebacker underneath, and he sees it and he hits it, and most young quarterbacks, well, I mean, he's not really young. He'll be a junior this year. But most quarterbacks that aren't as experienced, we'll say, will be scared to throw the ball over the middle. But, he looks at his first read, not there, looks over across the middle at number two. He sees it and he steps forward, throws it right across the middle. And, I mean, it's a good ball and a nice window. I mean, he times it right to hit his spot and,
Yeah.
good completion right there.
That's a good job on both ends. And, the tight end was where he needed to be, and he threw the ball exactly where the tight end was going.
Yeah. Now this one, I mean, you could say, well, he should have just threw it deep, blah, blah, blah. He underthrew it. Um, Said if you look at it, if we just stop it right here and you look at what's happening, uh, his guy's behind this DB who has got his back turned and he's running down the field as
Mhm.
fast as he can. He don't see the ball, but his receiver's turning around. You can see his numbers. His receiver's turning around, so he can see that ball coming. So he throws it, knowing that, my guy can see the ball, the other guy don't know what's happening. And his guy stops, like he should, and catches the ball. Easy completion right there, 1st and 10. Might not say it's a good throw for the situation.
That's a big completion too.
Yeah.
And that's one to go back to what we've mentioned with a couple of people of late. It's like that Shador Sanders, Travis Hunter thing. I mean, there's a lot of chemistry that has to be established for a quarterback and receiver to connect like that, because that's not your standard comeback. I mean, that was a peek back, and it's like, okay, I've got this, and quarterback knew to put the ball on him. Uh, Receiver won't do that unless he trusts the quarterback, and the quarterback won't throw that ball unless he trusts that the receiver is going to make the catch. The fact that they did that over, I mean, I know they've probably played a lot, but you know that the second team guy is not going to get as many reps as the first team guy. And so it goes to show that Nussmeier has really been working, even as the number two, and he really took advantage of those bowl practices. So I mean, that's a big plus.
Yeah, moving on. Here we'll see Garrett Nussmeier on the hash, and big throw right here because he throws it to the other side of the field. That's a deep out right there, to his tight end who's so reliable. But that's all the way across the field, and I mean, that's from one hash to the other, and I mean that's a far throw, and you're when you're throwing an out route as a quarterback, you can either throw the out or you can't. I mean, there is no in between.
Yeah, and I think too one of the things to look at right here is how he makes the throw. I mean, it's like he sets quick. He knows that the rush is going to be getting on him pretty fast, and he's got to get that ball out quick, because one of the things you see is that the receiver just flat out has the defender beat on this one. And
Oh
this
yeah,
is what you want to
that's a
see.
one step. He
It
only
really
steps back
is.
once.
And it's the they run this thing perfectly. I mean, they have, the guy who should be covering the flat. They have him occupied with the receiver who goes on by him, and it's set up perfect to pick this up. And and even in addition to completing the out, which sometimes is all you can do, he picks up some big yards after the play. And so, I mean, that shows you, once again, like what we said, on kind of what you could call an impromptu comeback. Um, he really places the ball well. He knows when to get it out so as to lead the receiver.
Yeah,
And and if you think back just to like for example, like to a previous video, we talked about Haynes King when he was at
Texas
A and
A&M.
M.
Yeah,
This shows you if you want to learn something about quarterbacks, and I know that some people out there, they're like, oh, you don't know anything about quarterbacks. I mean, I guess they do. Uh, Compare that to this. This shows you what happens when you have a quarterback who knows how to put the ball in a spot to where the receiver can run into the catch. Look at all these yards that are being gained. On the comeback, you have kind of just an off the cuff throw that he transitions the route and picks up about 17 yards or so on first down, and then right here you have 2nd and 8. You right now just look at it, right. You've got 5 yards on that out, and that 5 yards turns into a heck of a lot more.
like 18.
That's what we mean whenever we say these quarterbacks have to be able to put the ball on the spot. They have to be able to lead receivers. It changes the game.
Yeah,
Just throwing behind them, throwing down low, making them have to do acrobatics to catch the ball. That's not going to get you there. And so for LSU, when you see that Nussmeier takes over first game and he's placing the ball where it needs to be placed, you're seeing yards after the catch. You're seeing really nice impromptu throws and catches. You have to think that you're going to be competitive, and I think that that's always when there's a quarterback transition. You wonder, well, is it going to look the same? Well, no, it's never going to look the same. Then you have to worry about, well, are we going to be competitive next year? Pretty obviously, you're going to be competitive with this guy. I mean, at a high level.
yeah. Puts the ball in a spot where it gives his receivers a chance to succeed, and a great chance to succeed, where he places them. Said, and that loves to throw over the middle of the field, and first start ever like for a complete game, and you're throwing over the middle like that above defenders, and in between two. Said, that guy has some confidence. He's confident in his arm. He's throwing on the run, getting his body squared to the receiver, and throwing across his body. And perfect throw, perfect throw. And I mean, that's a lot going on in that play, and to be able to complete that across the middle while also looking downfield at everything going on. So like that, he looks like a veteran quarterback, and I know he's on his 3rd year. He just has no experience, and it looks like he does.
Yeah, and on this one here, I mean, if you go back to this one just a second, and just watch how he works it. The thing that I like, because and it gets, you really see a lot of times like it doesn't quite work out this way. He Lots of people don't, I think, take advantage of or consider that flat receiver on a
Oh, he
flood. And I
does.
mean, this is a
He
flood,
goes through 4
which is not
reads.
necessarily a rollout flood, but he's watching him, and and he's thinking, he's like, this is where I'm going to have to go with the ball. But here's the thing, and I know I want to throw in like a bit of a plug for Wisconsin, who's kind of like a lot of those Big Ten teams. A lot of times you don't hear people talk about what kind of pass defense they have. They have a really good pass defense, because this guy right here in the flat, he completely eliminates 27 from catching the football, and that's where Nussmeier is looking. And so what you got to like is that, first of all, he converts a straight drop back into a rollout, finds his man in the flat, keeps with him until there's no sense in and throwing the ball to him, because he's completely covered. Then what he does is what you ought to do on a flood. Your next thing is look for that backside receiver, because the benefit of this is that when you eyeball the flat receiver, there's going to be probably a linebacker, maybe even like a strong safety figure, who has to come down. And so what ends up happening here? Yep, that guy. that guy right there, he's controlling him with his eyes because he's going to drift over here to make the play because it seems very apparent that he's going to throw the ball into the flat, and so everybody's going to rally to the spot because that's what a lot of people do with whenever they're talking about defending flats, they will give them up to rally to them. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And at the college level, you have the people who can do that. And so that's what they're going to try to do here. But the problem is, you've always got a backside threat who's coming through, and that's exactly where Nussmeier goes. Now, the question is, did he know that's where he was going all along? Maybe. But at the same time, he also knew where the easy yards were, and he made them take the easy yards away and then find his backup option. And that's one of the things we talk about so much is that if you cannot go through 2 and 3 receivers, you are not going to succeed as a quarterback in the SEC because the defenses just play too well. And in this case, Wisconsin shows you that even up in the Big Ten, they're playing some really sound defense, and Nussmeier is able to make his reads and get through there. That's a great play.
Yeah, and I'd like to say they run a bunch of stuff out of trips, but I really think helps him a lot, and it gets that one side of the field loaded where something's usually going to be open, and even while he's getting rushed, he has an ability to create himself some more time, and he's consistent with getting his body square. But you see all the guys open right here on this play, underneath, and you know I don't think that's the right throw to make right there, especially 1st and 10. But you got to think he's really forcing that in there. He's on the run, but I mean the big thing to point out here: 37 seconds left in the second half. So I mean he's really
Second
trying to
quarter.
push the ball down the field right here to get some points before half. Because I mean 14-21, it's not the end of the world, but you get some points here to end the half, and you get some points to start the half, and you're probably going to win this game. But he just tries a little bit too much right here, and it does get picked off. Now, I mean, he's throwing on the run. I mean, I don't think it's that bad of a ball. Definitely a catchable ball. That safety he's just good. He comes down on it hard. His receiver kinda stops for a second. I don't really think he was gonna run that like dig across the middle. It looked more like a comeback than anything, and just bad communication. And I guess he just didn't see that safety there. But I mean, that Wisconsin has some good safeties. How many
Well,
picks did you say that
that's
guy had?
he's had 7. That's actually a cornerback. And
Oh,
if you watch him how he plays this, if you roll it back just a little bit, you'll see that he's the corner because he there he is. He's
yeah,
drifting with him. He goes back. He's got that I guess probably the back quarter settles in because you got some funny business going on here. And I think the way that he plays them is, I mean, I know that he is, he's covering the intended receiver here, but his position, and yeah, it screws that throw up too. I mean, you can't cover both of them, but you can give the illusion of covering both of them, and you also can bait a quarterback into throwing this pass because, I mean, he's got a harder job. If we got like basically a deep smash going on here where you have the inside receiver who's going to looks like he's headed as you got the line straight for the sideline over there, 45-degree angle. Uh, the safer throw is to hit the underneath man. So we're going to high low Hallman. And what Hallman does puts himself in a split the difference position where you can't really high low him, baits you into throwing that underneath throw. And that's why he's got 7 interceptions on the year.
yeah. I mean, not the greatest ball for that position,
No, no,
and I
no.
mean that's just one of them things.
And
He got a little too confident. That's what I think, throwing over
I
the
think he
middle.
did. And I also think that that Hallman gave him a good picture. I think that
Oh,
I think he baits him right
it
here.
looked like the
Uh,
separation is good.
yeah,
It's
it
open.
does.
He just makes a good
Now,
break.
here's the thing, though. If you want to take it back, and I mean, and look at this from a different perspective, what I would like to see the receiver do is a little bit further. Or I guess maybe we get a
Yeah.
replay of it. I don't remember. Yeah, right here, he needs to get. I mean, this is asking a lot. You have to know who is covering you.
Oh yeah.
And you have to believe that from the end of the season up to the bowl game, and I think this not a New Year's Day game? I'm pretty sure it was.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
the way up to New Year's, you've been told they have two defensive backs who between them have intercepted 13 balls this year. Number two, one of them. If he's on you, you better be crisp. Well, if you take this back just on
I'll
this replay,
say
one,
he
look at
kind of
that receiver.
he kind of walks
Now,
in on
now
that,
my thing is right
gets a
that
little lazy.
okay. So if you take back just a little bit, I think he's got the right idea. Because if you watch him, I mean, he kind of he stomps down, gets both feet, in the ground, but he doesn't fire like right here.
He
That's
just
too many
yeah,
steps.
he gets a little lazy right there on that
He's got
break.
one too many steps. And what he needs to do, stick the inside foot at the 45-degree angle so he can fire off of it, and he's going to have an extra yard and a half separation right
I'll say he
there on
needs to
Hallman,
come
and
down on the
and he
ball
can't.
instead of
That's
getting
exactly what I'm saying.
sideways.
Is that when he gets in there, he sticks that foot. You need to have more compact footwork. Stick the foot, at the 45. Go ahead and already be turned. Press off the inseam in your foot, fire back, and you're going to gain at least an extra yard of separation. Hallman can't make that play. Hallman makes that play because he dwindles right there, and he's throwing the ball to where he's at.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what happens, and I
So he
think that
breaks
ball
in
drifts
and
a little bit.
yeah, he
Yep, that's
breaks in
exactly
instead
it.
of breaking down. That's the
Yep,
but I mean, gets a little too confident there as what I'll chalk it up to. And
I think so too. And
they end up
the
going
way
down because of it.
I think like with that, I think he's confident that he can get it done. Too confident, as you say, and I think the receiver he gets a little lazy on the top of the route, and that's the place where with the elite defensive back like Hallman, you better be you better be looking pretty good.
Yeah, yeah, that is for sure. So we saw that throw that was, underneath on that vertical earlier. Well, he can also put it right where it needs to be and on a vertical route. I mean, he's got a good arm, so he ain't a slouch of a quarterback. Because I mean
No,
that's what 45 yards. Just I mean that's just easy. I mean, good touch and everything, perfect placement for a touchdown right there.
and so like with this right here, you have got like an all-American caliber cornerback who is for all intents and purposes playing as an extra deep safety. And so what do they do? Like obviously what Wisconsin is saying whenever you're sitting there, with 5 minutes left in this ball game, you're saying the one thing that we cannot afford for you to do is to beat us deep. And so then what you say is like, point taken. If you will not allow us to beat you deep, then we are going to beat you underneath your deep coverage, and we're going to cover the field. And that's exactly what the modern game is. And what you have to have is a quarterback who is trained to do that, who can say, okay, I'm not going to push something. I'm going to find the spot where it's open. And in order to do that, you can't just be one read Johnny. You can't just say, hey, the goal's not open. I'm going to run. That doesn't work anymore. I mean, whenever you look at defenders and how fast that they are, yeah, if you've got Jalen Milroe, he can run. But he can run because the dude is basically a running back who happens to be able to throw a football as well. Now, I mean, guys like that do exist, but here's the question. And this is something, you said this has been a long time ago, it like feels like. It's not really been a long time ago. It's just last year, I guess. But you said something probably, it might have been 3 years ago or so. I can't remember how
It
long
was.
it
Are you
was.
talking Bryce Young?
Bryce Young, and you swore on every holy book and before every collection of gods that Alabama would not and could not win a national championship with him as quarterback. And man, people laughed you out of the building with what happened. You were right.
Yeah, I mean,
They
it's just
couldn't do it.
that style. I don't like
And
just
and I
the way they
and
play.
and that's the thing that gets me is I think that there's now albeit young he was not your prototypical running quarterback,
No.
but that model was still very much there. I don't know that it works as well as it used to. I just really don't. I mean, I think that, when you get to thinking about that and people going back is like, oh, there's Tebow, oh, there's Vince Young, oh, there's whoever. Yeah, that's great. But you know what's happened? There's been about 20 years past in which people have learned how to defend that kind of offense. And now sometimes, you have a transcendent player, but more often than not, you don't. And so what I think you're seeing a lot in these quarterbacks is like, just take Nussmeier right here. And, we keep on, we keep going back to and, harping on what we see, out of the highlight films of George McIntyre, highlight films, Julian Say, and, even Austin Mack at Alabama, who we've talked about. What you see in those guys, they can go through a progression. They can find what is there. They can also hurt you deep. They can hurt you with their legs when they need to. But at the end of the day, the common theme that's running through every single elite quarterback in 2024 is I will take what you give me every single time. And eventually, by doing that, you're going to expose yourself. Patience is the name of the game. It's not one of those, we're going to run headlong into a 235-pound linebacker that can knock my brains out. We don't care about that anymore. In fact, we don't want it to happen anymore. I mean, there's no benefit to it. What you need is a man who can make this throw that he just made to get his team into a position to go up by a touchdown against a team who probably is not going to be able to drive the field and beat them. That's why Wisconsin's sitting deep. Wisconsin wants you to run the ball. They want you to grind clock because they also know, and I mean, and this is just where they're at. They're probably sitting there in the fourth quarter and somebody's secretly thinking, my God, man, we broke 30 points today. And they want this to become a field goal game. They want this to become an overtime game. And LSU, they have got the people to stretch his field. And it's like, why not, dude? So you just had the big, open grass spot over there where, everybody, including Hallman, just got, beat. So what do we have here as they keep on driving?
So yeah, it should just be more of the same that we saw the last two drives, and that's just a big deep bomb. I
Wonder
mean,
of wonders.
look how far back they're playing as well. I mean, they are deep here just off the lineup. I mean, that's what 8 yards of separation just to start, and
And I
and
mean, and look at Hallman down here, number two. I mean,
yeah,
you
I
got a
mean,
guy who can cover like a glove.
and
And
they
I
are
mean, and
turning
he's
and burning
he's
like every
bailing.
one
I
of
mean,
them.
he's bailing like nobody's business. I mean, they're getting to cover four as fast as they can. But now on the other side, you know, much respect, to the LSU side and Nussmeier because he knew what was working, and he's like, these jokers have showed me two times that they can't cover, a
Actually,
good,
three
high
times
arc.
because you
Yeah,
had
three
that
times. That's
first
right.
one. DB's in front, can't get turned around because his back's turned. Just staying consistent the whole game. It's like if they ain't gonna
And
play
I
the
mean, and
ball,
there's nothing. I mean, there's honestly nothing that's more fun than, or at least in my opinion, whenever you're calling plays or you're running the plays, and that there's something that they can't do. I mean, it just all of a sudden. I mean, it's like, it's pretty much like, just catching fish in a teacup.
but I mean, it goes back
There's
to what
nothing
you said
to it.
earlier. That you said, zone of ultimately turns into man. Well, you see right there, and he was started off playing, with his head turned toward the quarterback. He's playing the ball at that point. He's not playing the man to where it turns into that man coverage in the zone, and then ultimately he's playing the man. There's no him playing the ball at all, and that reigns supreme throughout the entire game. You see it. They're always trying to play the man and not the ball, and that's why they end up getting burnt deep every time, pretty much.
And there's only so many times you can do that before you get caught up with. And
Look at
in the
Texas
case
last
of,
year.
and yeah, that's exactly it. And and in the case of like a team like with them, or in the case of a team like Wisconsin right here, when you have Brian Kelly, lots of people think lots of things about Brian Kelly, but one thing that I think everybody would have to agree on, he's a very good offensive coordinator. And when you get a guy who's been around it that long, who is that skilled at it, and you show him something, I mean, this poor, you better expect to have it rained on you. And now Wisconsin played a good ball game, but it was these problems in the end, and LSU, having a quarterback, who could really take advantage of
Yeah.
Wisconsin's limitations. And I think that's going to be a common theme whenever you have a guy who can play within your game plan and who can take advantage of theirs. You're probably going to win some football games.
Yeah. And, after this throw, not only does he complete that one, but, he goes in and closes it out right after that. Just takes his one step, flips his hips, and absolutely rockets one in there for a touchdown to a guy underneath, because they're playing the goal line. He just throws it right underneath, and his receiver just turns his body into the goal and touchdown. Said, win the game, come back and win.
I'm they got me looking like a hobo, man. I'm just like, how do you play that way?
I don't know.
There are about three things that can happen on the goal line, and every single one of them, you're better off if you man up. What are they
Yeah,
going to do? Catch him, pick him up, carry him out? I don't know what their intentions were out there,
I
but
don't know. Said
but you know,
I'd rather them catch one, very contested instead of that though.
oh yeah, I would too. I'd rather take a pass interference penalty than let something like that happen, but that's just me. But I think that what you see from that game, I know we're griping a lot about Wisconsin's defensive choices, but their taste in defenses. But the I think the takeaway is LSU got him a quarterback,
Yeah,
and I think that he's going to be good for them. Uh, we'll see, because I mean right now, I mean we got a 1 game sample. That's basically what we got. And no doubt, whenever the sample size grows, you're probably going to see, some limitations pop up because that's how everybody is. But for right now, I think the one thing you can say, they have to feel pretty comfortable going into this season. And, I'd say that their fans are pretty excited. I think the expanded playoff picture helps them out. LSU's, I mean, they're kind of in that, they're kind of in that big, circle. I mean, LSU, Alabama, Georgia, people like that, Ohio State, they're always going to be in that conversation. And so I think that expanded format, you got a good quarterback coming in, you got to like the chances. Don't know
yeah.
if they can make it all the way, but I think they got a really good shot of getting in.
Hey, and getting in's a lot better than not.
That's
So
exactly
I mean,
right.
get that playoff money.
Yep.
Um, But with that being said, yeah, I do agree. He has what it takes to be. He has the athleticism, and he has the intangibles. At least physicality wise. With the arm. But I think his biggest factor is going to be his brains and the way he can read
I think
a
so.
read a field and go through a progression. Take what's given to him. So that's what mainly stands out about him. I mean, sure, you can key in on a few things like maybe some missteps on footwork, some extra steps. Maybe not always, getting his drops right or being on time or trying to force a ball down the field. But at the end of the day, he was trained to
Yeah.
be a good traditional quarterback that can extend the play. He's going to do things the right way, and I think that'll be very good for LSU.
Yeah.
And might even have 2 years with him with Bryce Underwood coming in 2025. So, you
Yeah.
know,
And I mean, he shows you more often than not, he's going to do the right thing
yeah. So I mean, next 2 years
a
probably will
lot.
be really good in LSU. For us here though, stay locked in, everyone.